Yeah, okay. You can hear me? Yeah. Most important. Yeah, in the early days when you were with Buddhist teachings. Now they have video screens and things like that, but in the early days there were no video screens, you know. So sometimes you sit around a corner or the back of a building or somewhere too far away, and then it's just as you can hear. No, that's fine. Yeah. Okay. But yeah, in modern times we have to see, hear, and have an experience, a close kind of thing. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, welcome to the last evening of this season, so to say, on this text, and then we continue again in September, right? So yeah, we dive a little bit more into the selflessness of the person. Yeah, that's the topic in the text. So generate correct motivation to realize that in order to eliminate the view of transitory collection, and by doing so eliminate afflictions, and by doing so eliminate the creation of karma. Yeah. So and why is that needed? In order to progress in the spiritual path, to the 5 parts, right? The 4 parts of learning, and to accomplish the part of no more learning in order to have the full capacity of qualities to be a real benefit for sentient beings who are needed to be helped. Yeah, so generate correct motivation for yourself. And then imagine the Buddha in front, surrounded by, of course, the lineages of methods, on the Buddha's right, and the wisdom on the Buddha's left, with 3 groups of the Kadam on both sides, and then below that the groups of Lamas and Kappa on both sides, and behind the lineages of the 3 deities, 16 drops, Mahamudra, and then in front the Guru and the Gurus, and then the deities for class of Tantra, and down practice like that. Then surround yourself those countless sentient beings who are undergoing the various types of samsaric suffering, and you lead them in the prayers, and by doing so, you lead them beyond the ocean of cyclic existence. Yeah, so based on that, we recite prayers.
To the Founder, the endowed, transcendent destroyer, the one gone beyond, the foe destroyer, the completely perfected, fully awakened being, perfect in knowledge and in good conduct, Siddhartha and knower of the world, supreme guide of human beings to be tamed, teacher of gods and human beings, to you, the completely and fully awakened one, the endowed, transcendent destroyer, the glorious conqueror, the subduer from the Shakya clan, I prostrate, make offerings, and go for refuge. To the Founder, the endowed, transcendent destroyer, the one gone beyond, the foe destroyer, the completely perfected, fully awakened being, perfect in knowledge and in good conduct, Siddhartha and knower of the world, supreme guide of human beings to be tamed, teacher of gods and human beings, to you, the completely and fully awakened one, the endowed, transcendent destroyer, the glorious conqueror, the subduer from a Shakya clan, I prostrate, make offerings, and go for refuge. To the Founder, the endowed, transcendent destroyer, the one gone beyond, the foe destroyer, the completely perfected, fully awakened being, perfect in knowledge and in good conduct, Siddhartha and knower of the world, supreme guide of human beings to be tamed, teacher of gods and human beings, to you, the completely and fully awakened one, the endowed, transcendent destroyer, the glorious conqueror, the subduer from a Shakya clan, I prostrate, make offerings, and go for refuge. When, O supreme amongst humans, you were born on this earth, you paced out 7 strides, and then said, I am supreme in this world. To you who were wise then, I prostrate. With pure bodies, formed supremely pure, wisdom ocean like a golden mountain, fame that blazes in the 3 worlds, winner of the best, Lord, to you I prostrate. With supreme signs, face like a spotless moon, color like gold, to you I prostrate. Dust free like you, the 3 worlds are not, incomparably wise one, to you I prostrate. The Saviour, having great compassion, the Founder, having all understanding, the field of merit with qualities like a vast ocean, to you, the one gone to thusness, I prostrate. the purity that frees one from attachment, and the virtue that frees one from below rungs, the one path, the sublime pure reality, to the Dharma that pacifies, I prostrate. Those who are liberated and who also show the path to liberation, the holy field qualified with realizations, who are devoted to the moral precepts, to you, the sublime community intending virtue, I prostrate. Homage to the Supreme Buddha, homage to the Dharma refuge, homage to the great Sangha, to all three ever devout homage, to all worthy of respect, bowing with bodies as many as all realms, atoms in all aspects, with supreme faith that pay homage. Do not commit any non-virtuous actions, perform only perfect virtuous actions. Subdue your mind thoroughly, this is the teachings of the Buddha. A star, a visual aberration, a flame of a lamp, an illusion, a drop of dew or a bubble, a dream, a flash of lightning, a cloud, see conditioned things as such. Through these merits may sentient beings attain the rank of all-seeing, subdue the foe false, and be delivered from samsara's ocean, perturbed by the waves of aging, sickness, and death.
I prostrate to
the Arya Triple Gem. Thus did I hear at one time the Bhagavan was dwelling on a mass of Vulture's Mountain in Rajagriha, together with a great community of monks and a great community of bodhisattvas. At that time, the Bhagavan was absorbed in the concentration on the categories of phenomena called profound perception. Also at that time, the Bodhisattva Mahasatva Arya Avalokiteshvara looked upon the very practice of the profound perfection of wisdom and beheld those five aggregates also as empty of inherent nature. Then through the power of the Buddha, the Venerable Shariputra said this to the Bodhisattva Mahasatva Arya Avalokiteshvara: how should any son of a lineage train who wishes to practice the activities of the profound perfection of wisdom? He said that, and the Bodhisattva Mahasatva Arya Avalokiteshvara said this to the Venerable Sharavatiputra: Shariputra, any son of a lineage or daughter of a lineage who wishes to practice the activities of the profound perfection of wisdom should look upon it like this, correctly and repeatedly beholding those five aggregates also as empty of inherent nature. Form is empty, emptiness is form, emptiness is not other than form, form is also not other than emptiness. In the same way, feeling, discrimination, compositional factors, and consciousness are empty. Shariputra, likewise, all phenomena are emptiness, without characteristics, unproduced, unceased, stainless, not without stain, not deficient, not fulfilled. Shariputra, therefore in emptiness there is no form, no feeling, no discrimination, no compositional factors, no consciousness, no eye, no ear, no nose, no tongue, no body, no mind, no visual form, no sound, no odor, no taste, no object of touch, and no phenomenon. There is no eye element, and so on up to and including no mind element and no mental consciousness element. There is no ignorance, no extinction of ignorance, and so on up to and including no aging and death, and no extinction of aging and death. Similarly, there is no suffering, origination, cessation, and path. There is no exalted wisdom, no attainment, and also no non-attainment. Shariputra, therefore, because there is no attainment, bodhisattvas rely on and dwell in the perfection of wisdom, the mind without obscuration and without fear. Having completely passed beyond error, they reach the end point of nirvana. All the Buddhas who dwell in the three times also manifestly completely awaken to unsurpassable, perfect, complete enlightenment in reliance on the perfection of wisdom. Therefore, the mantra, the perfection of wisdom, the mantra of great knowledge, the unsurpassed mantra, the mantra equal to the unequaled, the mantra that thoroughly pacifies all suffering should be known as truth, since it is not false. The mantra, the perfection of wisdom, is declared: Tayata gate gate paragate parasamgate bodhisoha. Shariputra, the Bodhisattva Mahasatva, should train in the profound perfection of wisdom like that. Then the Bhagavan arose from that concentration and commended the Bodhisattva Mahasatva Arya Avalokiteshvara, saying: well said, son of a lineage, it is like that, it is like that. One should practice the profound perfection of wisdom just as you have indicated, even the Tathagatas rejoice. The Bhagavan, having thus spoken, and the Venerable Sharavatiputra and the Bodhisattva Mahasatva Arya Avalokiteshvara, and those surrounding in their entirety, along with the worlds of gods, humans, asuras, and Gadavas, were overjoyed and highly praised that spoken by the Bhagavan.
I prostrate to
the gathering of Dakinis and the three chakras who abide in the holy yoga of using space. By your powers of clairvoyance and magical emanation, look after a practitioner like a mother, a child.
Akasamarasasna samarayapi tayata gata gata paragata parasamgata bodhiso.
by the teachings of the three supreme jewels possessing the power of truth. May inner and outer hindrances be transformed, may they be dispelled, may they be pacified. May all negative forces opposed to the Dharma be completely pacified. May the host of 80,000 obstacles be pacified. May we be separated from problems and harmful conditions to the Dharma. May all enjoyments be in accord with the Dharma. And may there be auspiciousness and perfect happiness here, right now. The foundation of all good qualities is the kind and perfect, pure Guru. Correct devotion to the Guru is the root of the path. By clearly seeing this and applying great effort, please bless me to rely upon the Guru with great respect. Please bless me to rely upon the Guru with great respect. Understanding that the precious freedom of this rebirth is found only once. It's greatly meaningful and it's difficult to find again. Please bless me to generate the mind that unceasingly, day and night, takes its essence. Please bless me to generate the mind that unceasingly, day and night, takes its essence. This life is impermanent as a water bubble. Remember how quickly it decays and death comes. After death, just like a shadow follows the body, the results of black and white karma follow. Finding firm and definite conviction in this, please bless me always to be careful, to abandon even the slightest negativities and accomplish all virtuous deeds. Please bless me always to be careful, to abandon even the slightest negativities and accomplish all virtuous deeds. Seeking samsaric pleasures is the door to all suffering. They are uncertain and cannot be relied upon. Recognizing these shortcomings, please bless me to generate the strong wish for the bliss of liberation. Please bless me to generate the strong wish for the bliss of liberation. Led by this pure thought, mindfulness, alertness, and great caution arise. The root of the teachings is keeping the pratimoksha vows. Please bless me to accomplish this essential practice. Please bless me to accomplish this essential practice. Just as I have fallen into the sea of samsara, so have all mother migratory beings. Please bless me to see this and train in supreme bodhicitta and bear the responsibility of freeing migratory beings. Please bless me to see this and train in supreme bodhicitta and bear the responsibility of freeing migratory beings. Even if I develop only bodhicitta, but I do not practice the three types of morality, I will not achieve enlightenment. With my clear recognition of this, please bless me to practice the bodhisattva vows with great energy. Please bless me to practice the bodhisattva vows with great energy. Once I pacified distractions to wrong objects and correctly analyzed the meaning of reality, please bless me to generate quickly within my mind stream the unified path of calm abiding and special insight. Please bless me to generate quickly within my mind stream the unified path of calm abiding and special insight. Having become a pure vessel by training in the general path, please bless me to enter the holy gateway of the fortunate ones, the supreme Vajra vehicle. Please bless me to enter the holy gateway of the fortunate ones, the supreme Vajra vehicle. At that time, the basis of accomplishing the two attainments is keeping pure vows and samaya. As I have become firmly convinced of this, please bless me to protect these vows and pledges like my life. Please bless me to protect these vows and pledges like my life. Then, having realized the importance of the two stages and the essence of the Vajrayana, by practicing with great energy and never giving up the 4 sessions, please bless me to realize the teachings of the Holy Guru. Please bless me to realize the teachings of the Holy Guru. Like that, may the Gurus who show the noble path and the spiritual friends who practice it have long lives. Please bless me to pacify completely all outer and inner hindrances. Please bless me to pacify completely all outer and inner hindrances. In all my lives may never be separated from perfect Gurus. May I enjoy the magnificent Dharma, and by completing the qualities of the stages in the path, may I quickly attain the state of Vajradhara. May I quickly attain the state of Vajradhara. O Saji Buki Joji Meto Tramri Ralenji Ninde Genvadi Sange Lama Dampakena Kichukala Gense Chuzinchi Jita Zabge Juki Chapa Wabtu Soidam Guru Rana Mandala Kanirataya
Sangye Chodon
Sangye Chonam La Jaju Badu Dani Gapsuchi Dagi Chishen Gibe Sonambi Jola Penje Sangye Jubasho
Sangye
Chodon Sangye Chonam La Jaju Badu Dani Gapsuchi Dagi Chishen Gibe Sonambi Jola Penje Sangye Jubasho
Sangye
Chodon Sangye Chonam La Jaju Badu Dani Gapsuchi Dagi Chishen Gibe Sonambi Jola Penje Sangye Jubasho
Chitun to Gangi to Nizavi Tao Tanchi Pamchi Tamshi Kotan Dela Chat. Yeah, so start with a quote by Arinarjuna from the Ratnavali, yeah, and there Arinarjuna, the precious garland, there Narjuna says something, because normally we say, you know, because of the grasping of the self, yeah, then we have the different types of karma being created, and then we born in samsara, yeah, that's mostly referring to the self of the person, right, in most of the quotations. But here, in the precious garland, there Nagarjuna says, as long as one apprehends the aggregates, one apprehends an I in them. Yeah, so meaning as long as you apprehend the aggregates as existing inherent, you apprehend an inherent I. So here it looks like there's first an apprehension of inherent existence of phenomena, and then apprehension of inherent existence of a self of a person. Yeah, so the sequence seems to be different than what we normally say, that, you know, first have to recognize the self of the person, and then you recognize the self of phenomena, and first you realize the selflessness of the person, and then you realize the selflessness of phenomena, right? But here, in the precious garland, it says, you know, that, apprehends the aggregates, yeah, which is a phenomena, and then apprehend an I in them as a second. And then thirdly, then if one apprehends an I, there is karma, yeah, meaning the positive karma is created because of the link of ignorance in the 12 links, right? Or if it's not karma within the 12 links, then also ignorance is present of grasping at an I, and that engage in virtue, of morality or generosity, whatsoever, and whatever virtue we engage in is, as we know, contaminated because of this ignorance of grasping at a self. Yeah. Then with negative karma, then of course afflictions, they play a role, yeah, based on this I aspect of this inherent from its own existing I. Then we get angry, or a strong attachment arises, and whatever affliction arises causes us to create negative karma. Yeah, so with positive karma, we have the mere affliction of ignorance. Yeah, with negative karma, on top of that, we also have the afflictions, what we call the 6 root afflictions, or the 20 secondary afflictions, or other related afflictions to either of those two groups. Yeah, then we create negative karma. Yeah, so that's based. So, and from karma there is rebirth, it says. Yeah, so here Nagarjuna states that first there's the apprehension of the aggregates. Yeah, so in one way it makes sense, right? The person is imputed on the aggregates, right? The mere person is imputed on the aggregates, and the mere person is the object of observation of the viewer transitory collection. Right? Yeah. So, in one way, indirectly, it makes sense. As long as you focus upon, or your mind is directed to an existing phenomena, in this case, the mere self, which is imputed upon the 5 aggregates, right? And then you apprehend an inherent I on top of that. Yeah, so you apprehend a non-existing I on top of an existing I. Yeah, because the mere person exists. Yeah. So in one way, this quote from Nagarjuna makes sense. Yeah, that, and also when it's with regards to others, then there's first you see a person's mostly the physical aggregate, and then we impute a person, or we grasp then at that person not as an imputed aspect but as an inherent aspect. Yeah, so in one way it makes sense. Yeah. But you can also have an affliction that is rooted in just a mere apprehension of an inherent I. Yeah, and then having anger or attachment or whatsoever, right? So that is also possible. So there's two possibilities, right? First you apprehend a phenomena, and then you focus on the phenomena, and then you apprehend an inherent aspect to that, or you could focus upon the mere I and have an inherent I on top of that being apprehended, right? So that's different ways are possible, and there's also no contradiction, because either way, the way of apprehension, as we know in the Prasangika, is exactly the same for persons and for phenomena. Yeah, the apprehension of inherent existence. While in the other schools is different, as we know. In the mind-only school is different. In the Svatantrika school is different. Yeah, in the Svatantrika school, the autonomy school, for example, yeah, they apprehend the consciousness as the illustration of the person, which is an object of observation, which exists. Yeah, and then they apprehend a kind of self-sufficient, substantial existing self on top of that, which is, according to them, a self of person. And when they apprehend a truly existent I on top of that, then it's the self of phenomena. Yeah. So in the autonomy school, we say the difference between the self of the person and the self of phenomena is from the point of view of the way of apprehension. Yeah. So in the autonomy school, the way it's been apprehended is different. Yeah, the self of the person is just a self-sufficient, substantial existing self that's apprehended, and the self of phenomena is a truly existing self. Yeah, so that distinction is clear in the autonomy school. That it's the difference between self of a person and self of phenomena is being defined by the way of apprehension. Yeah. Yeah, one just sees a mere self-sufficient, substantial existing self, and that's the self of a person, and the other one sees a truly existing self, which is the self of phenomena. Yeah, so that's according to the autonomy school. Yeah, in the mind-only school we have something similar, right? The mind-only school, for example, following scriptures, right? The true aspectarians, they believe in this alavijaya, yeah, in this consciousness or the mind basis of all consciousness, right? So that exists according to them. So that's the object of observation, and then they apprehend a self-sufficient, substantial existing self on top of that, and that's the self of a person, right? In the mind-only school, and then the object, or sorry, I should say, the apprehender and apprehended being of a different substance. Yeah, that what appears to the mind and the mind itself, those two, being of a different nature or a different entity, yeah, that is the self of phenomena. Yeah, so then you can see the way of apprehension between the self of a person and the self of phenomena is different in the mind-only school and is different in the autonomy school, right? But the way of apprehension in the Prasangika school is exactly the same: inherent existence. The self of a person or the self of phenomena. Yeah, so you can see that in the Prasangika school there's no difference in the way of apprehension between the self of a person and self of phenomena, because both apprehend inherent existence. And that's why when you ask them what's the root of samsara, they say the apprehension of inherent existence, which has two aspects: self of a person and self of phenomena. Yeah, so that's kind of the Prasangika's interpretation, right? Yeah, the only distinction that is being made in the Prasangika between the self of a person and self of phenomena is from the point of view of the basis. Either there's a person being seen as inherent, or a phenomena like the mind is seen as inherent. Yeah, so the mind seen as inherent is the self of phenomena, and the person seen as inherent is the self of a person. Yeah, so in the Prasangika school you can see the way and that also explains why there's no contradiction in this quote of Nagarjuna, because if you apprehend the aggregates or you apprehend the self, the I, as inherent, both are the roots of samsara, right? Yeah, because the root of samsara is just, in general speaking, apprehension of inherent existence with as self and phenomena, right? If you realize the one without too much reason, you realize the other. Yeah, well, in the autonomy school, that's not the case. If you realize the selfness of a person, then you need still a lot of reasons to realize the self of phenomena, right? It's two completely different things. When a prasangika, it's not two completely different things, because the way of apprehension is the same. So if you refute one aspect of inherent existence, then you can refute any other object as existing inherently very easily. Yeah. Mind-only school also is completely, if you realize the selfness of a person, then you need a lot of work still to realize the selfness of phenomena, right? Yeah, so in the mind-only and the autonomy school, there's a great distinction between the self of a person and the self of phenomena. Yeah, coarse, subtle difference. Yeah. Well, in the Prasangika school, there's no coarse, subtle difference between the self of a person and the self of phenomena, because the way you look at the self of a person and self phenomena, the way you apprehend is exactly the same, right? Apprehension of inherent existence. Yeah. So yeah, then that's kind of a debate that comes up in the Lamrims, in the mid-length Lamrim or the Great Exposition by Lama Tsongkhapa. That might be also maybe a good idea to do once. The inside section, I was thinking, but yeah, let's see when there's time. Yeah. So that in those kind of texts, it has this little debate, you know, if this quote from Arya Nagarjuna, does that contradict or not? Yeah, are there two roots of samsara or not? Yeah. Anyway, it's just as we're talking about a lot in the current text, what the self of the person and the root of samsara we went over recently. So I thought, yeah, to bring that up. But let's go to the text. Meaning, we left at page 21, and that's verse 138. Yeah. So we talked about, we talked about previously, okay, then is the collection the person, or then say no, okay, then the shape also not the person, right? We went over those various aspects, yeah, in relation with the sevenfold reasoning of Chandrakirti, yeah, that they're not inherent, so meaning that the self is not the inherent self, yeah, but we said you have to join the object of refutation with analytical approach, otherwise you cannot realize emptiness with the self-fold reasoning. Because you can use the sevenfold reasoning also within the context of the autonomy school, right? Yeah, so just to refute a self-sufficient substantial existing self, you can also use the similar reasoning, yeah, particularly the first two, of not being identical or not being one. Yeah, the self is not identical or the same as the aggregates, and neither different, right? One and different reasoning, for example. Yeah. So you have to join the object of refutation according to Prasangika in order to realize emptiness according to Prasangika, right? Yeah. So yeah, that's the one and different reason. And then we often talk about dependent origination being the other reasoning, right? Yeah, we sometimes talk about two reasons, and there's many others. But yeah, they are the main essential ones. And then the dependent origination is referred to two other aspects of Chandrakirti's sevenfold reasoning of dependence. Yeah, the self, the inherent self, does not depend on the aggregates, and the aggregates do not depend on the inherent self. Yeah, so that's kind of the theory or view of dependent origination. And then the inherent self does not possess the aggregates, right? So those first 5 reasons of the sevenfold reasoning of Chandrakirti, which comes up in the text very soon with the chariot example. Yeah, with those first 5, you can realize emptiness. Yeah, if you join the object refutation according to Prasangika. But with the last 2, yeah, the collection and the shape, that's a very coarse view, and that doesn't really produce, according to the scriptures, the realization of emptiness, right? Yeah. Okay, so we went over a few of those aspects in the previous classes. Yeah, that appropriator and appropriated cannot be the same, and with regards to the collection of being the person. So now, that talks about different types of dependence. So in verse number 138, there it reads, the Buddha said, the self is dependent upon these 6, right? 4 elements: earth, water, fire, and consciousness, and also space. So space meaning openings in the nostrils or ears. In our body we also have space, right? Empty aspects, And also on these 6 sense faculties of the eyes and so forth, which in turn the basis for contact. So that means the self is designated or imputed upon these aggregates, right? So that's kind of important to understand. And that depends on, the body is made out of elements, and then we have consciousness and mental factors and things like that, and aspects of, but we call a person, when you look at a person and you label a person in a particular way, that's based on how that person looks like, right? So you look at eyes, you look at how the person's face is, and the body, and sometimes even from the back, or the way a person walks, isn't it? You sometimes know, there's this person. In the monastery we always joke around and then look at a distance and you see a monk walking, that's Dajompa or something like that. Because we all have nicknames, in the monastery. It's very interesting. So then in a very playful way. So that means we impute or designate on various aspects of the physical body or behavior or whatsoever, and then we label something, right? So you can see it's all in nature of dependence. There is no, from its own side, existing person as such, right? Otherwise you could call everybody a particular person, but it depends on so many aspects, right? Otherwise this aspect of nicknames doesn't make sense, because one person you call this and the other person you call that, right? So that is, I think in the West these days you have to be very careful with but in the monastery things are so easygoing. There's no harmful intent, and people don't get offended when you call them fat or bald or monkey or whatsoever. It's just kind of playful way to it's just one person is different from somebody else, and that's fine. It's very interesting. And you can see, because it's such a playful way, you don't get irritated when you call you a monkey if you have some hair, and Tibetans do not have hair or something like that, right? It's nothing with harmful intent. It's just like, there's just a difference. One person has hair on their arms, and another person do not have hair on their arms. So what? It's so interesting. It actually is very healthy, that kind of approach, or a person is fat, okay, sit down, earthquake, it's kind of, or people shining bald, and then we do this mandala kind of, Zingam Bhuvagyo, to make sure that's just how it is, It's very interesting, in one way, it's very, very healthy, Okay. So you can see things are imputed, right, based on various various aspects, very interesting, Anyway, there's more stories, but maybe not. Okay, so then that's related with it, verse 138. Then the next verse, 139. Then he also said the self is conceived on the basis of mind and mental factors, right? So there's a basis of designation, So that means there's two things. There's the designated, the person, or the name of the person, and there's a basis of designation, right? So, generally speaking, there's this kind of a debate a big debate a little bit, in the essence of eloquence, you know, there's a section, there's two sections, my only section and the section on the middle way schools, right? So then in the Prasangika section it talks about, generally speaking, you know, the designated and the base of designation, then generally speaking, they're not mutually exclusive. Yeah, because they're only mutually exclusive with relation with a particular object, because then you define, okay, this is the basis, and upon this we impute this. For example, the five aggregates, are the mere collection of the five aggregates are the basis to impute a person, right? So in that context, then the person is the imputed, and the mere collection is the basis, right? But the person in another context is also a base of imputation if you say, oh, this person or that person. Yeah, so that means that they are not mutually exclusive in general, but with regards to one particular basis, then one is the basis and the other is the imputed. Yeah, and there are two different distinct things, right? The aggregates are different from the label person, right? Yeah. But a label person by itself can also be a basis to name something else on top of that, right? Yeah, and then in that context, then the designated or the imputed is different from the basis of designation or the basis of imputation, right? You see that? Yeah, so the designated and the base of designation can never be the same thing. It has to be two different things. Yeah, so that's kind of an important philosophical argument from the Prasangika school. Same as the appropriator and the appropriated cannot be two different, cannot be the one thing. Yeah, so in the mind-only school they say, oh, the mind basis of all is that what appropriates and is the appropriator, right? And in the autonomy school they say the mental consciousness illustration of the person that goes from this life to the next life is the appropriator and appropriated. Yeah, we could reason that with them, and then in the Prasangika we make it very clear. Then you cannot have an agent and an action, for example, to be the same thing. There's two different things. So similarly, appropriator and appropriated do two different aspects, right? Yeah. So that's also kind of a debate that comes up, right? So here, then mean that with regards to one particular object, the base of imputation and the imputed, those two are different, right? Two different things. Yeah. Yeah. So that means that the collection, you cannot call the collection the person, because the collection is the basis to impute a person upon. Yeah, so that means the basis of imputation and the imputed are two different things. Yeah, so that's another debate you could have. Yeah, in regards with the mere collection. Yeah, said here in verse 139, where it says, he also said, the self is conceived on the basis of mind and mental factors, right, or the mere collection of the aggregates. Therefore, self is neither identical to any of those factors. Yeah, there's a difference between the imputed self and the basis, the collection of the aggregates, right? Yeah, so the self cannot be the mere collection, yeah, because the mere collection is the basis upon which impute a self. Yeah, and all schools of Buddhist philosophy, they agree that what is the person? The person is designated based, is a nominal phenomena based on either of the five aggregates, right? So you cannot have a basis upon which you impute and the imputed to be the same thing. You know, how can you impute something upon itself? It's not possible. You impute something on a particular object. Yeah, so that means the base of imputation and the imputed with regards to one object should be two different distinct things. Yeah, although they, of course, they're nature of dependence, but they are different. They're not the same. Yeah, so yeah, that's here an argument that comes up. Yeah. Yeah, so it's not either of these factors nor the mere collection. Thus the thought I am does not grasp at any of these, right? Because it's different, right? So I am, if you think about I am, yeah, then that's this apprehension of an inherent I, right? And that is not any of the aggregates, because the aggregates exist and the inherent I does not exist. Yes, we talked about with the view of the transitory collection, the object of observation is an existing phenomena. But the way of apprehension is wrong. Yeah, you apprehend an inherent I on top of the mere collection. Yeah, the mere collection is an existing phenomena, is the object of observation, or the mere self, to be more precise, right? Is the object of observation, and you apprehend an inherent I on top of that. Yeah, and that inherent I does not exist, right? Yeah, so there you can see here the thought I am does not apply to any of these, because it's just an imputed aspect, and in the aspect of an inherent apprehension, it's kind of a mistaken aspect of reality, right? Yeah. Yeah, so if you then say the aggregates are the self, or the collection are the self, yeah, that can never be the object of observation for the view of transitory collection, right? Yeah, because that self does not exist. You need, for the view of transitory collection, it's a view, right? It views the transitory, means it focuses upon or directs its mind towards the transitory body and mind, and then views an inherent I on top of that. Yeah, so that's why we call it the view of the transitory collection. Yeah, so the collection is this transitory aspect of the five aggregates, and the mind is directed toward that, or focused on that, or focused on that, or the object observation, and then it views or apprehends an inherent I on top of that. Yeah, and that view is an afflictive view, right? Yeah. So you see, the transitory collection exists, and then it views that in a particular way, and that's an afflictive view, because that view is not according to reality. Yeah, you view an inherent I and mine on top of that. Yeah, yeah. So yeah, we know from the Lamrim text, most of you study that object observation should be an existing phenomena, right? And then you view that in a mistaken way. Yeah, seeing as inherent. Yeah. So similarly, in the next verse, 140. There it says, you say that it's so the meaning is still this refutation of a person who refutes an eternal self, but then thinks the collection is the self, right? That's still the debate is going on, remember, from last week. Yeah. So then it says, you say that it's eternal self that is negated, yeah, when no self is realized. Yeah, so that's their view, right? Yet, you do not consider that the basis of eye-grasping, yeah, the basis of the view of transitory collection, yeah, should be an existing phenomenon. But if you think that although you don't accept an external self, but you think the collection is the self, then that self can never be the basis of the view of transitory collection, the object observation, because that self does not exist, because the collections are not a self. Yeah, that's just kind of, limited philosophy reasoning. So you claim that the knowledge of no self-definite eradicates, yeah, if you see the eternal self as distinct or different from the aggregates as not existing, yeah, so then you think you eliminate that, but the view of the self is most stunning indeed, meaning you only refute a very coarse form of self. Yeah, if you refute the eternal self, or the self that exists as a different entity than the aggregates, yeah, and you refute that aspect, then it does not mean you have refuted the subtle form of a self, yeah, because you still have a self that the collection is the self, you think. So that also has to be refuted, because that also does not exist. Yeah, based on that, you can also generate an inherent self and kasa. And yeah, be around the samsara. Yeah, so it's most astonishing indeed, meaning that's quite amazing, but it doesn't make any sense. Yeah, if you refute a coarse form of a self, then that's not enough. You have to eliminate the subtle form of a self. Yeah, so in the Prasanga say you have to eliminate the inherent self, otherwise you can never be free from samsara. Oops, I did like this, and then my page went the other direction. So what you do, there's this example that comes up in many texts, you know. If you, in 41, yeah, if you only refute the coarse one, and you don't refute the subtle one, you're still stuck in samsara. Yeah, you don't eliminate samsara. So for example, a person who's afraid of snakes, and you tell the person, look, you don't have to be afraid because there's no elephant. Then to say there's no elephant doesn't eliminate the fear of snakes, right? Yeah, so similarly, if you only refute the coarse form of a self, then the subtle self is still there. Yeah, so that aspect of samsara is still there. Yeah, so it doesn't work if you just say things like this, and it doesn't work if you state that, you know, with the core self. That wouldn't be said here. With the core self, you don't eliminate the fear of samsara, right? Yeah. You have to eliminate the subtle one. Yeah. So here it says the same thing. This is like a man, a woman who is seeing a snake in the cracks of his walls, seeks to clear the doubt whether there's an elephant in the room or not. Yeah. So if you say, don't worry, don't worry about snakes because there's no elephant, then it doesn't remove the fear for snakes, right? So similarly, if you only remove the coarse form of a self, it doesn't remove the subtle one. Yeah, the subtle form of self. Yeah. 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 So he will. Yeah, that's kind of important to understand, that we have to eliminate the innate grasping. Yeah, because according to the Prasangika school, the autonomy school and below, general speaking, if they say the self-sufficient, substantial existing self is the root of samsara, and then some of those schools, they give the interpretation of being of a different characteristic than the aggregates, right? This controller, that being of a different characteristic than the aggregates. According to the Prasangika, that's even not just a coarse one, but it's even an acquired grasping. It's not even an innate grasping. Yeah, and the root of samsara has to be an innate grasping. Because if you eliminate the acquired grasping, you can never be free of samsara. You have to eliminate the innate grasping, right? So the ignorance has to be an innate grasping in order for it to be the root of samsara, right? So that's another aspect that has been brought up here. Yeah, with the coarse form of self-grasping is not enough to be eliminated. So you have to eliminate the subtle one. Yeah. Then similar aspects to what has been building up now to the sevenfold reasoning of Chandrakirti, right? Where it says the self does not exist in the aggregates, nor the aggregates exist in the self. Yeah, this is kind of from the sutras. Yeah, that is being quoted by Chandrakirti. If they were separate, such notions might be possible, but since they are not different, meaning not inherent different, yeah, these notions are mere concepts. Yeah, meaning like there is a difference between the support and the supported. Yeah, like curd that is in a particular container, for example, are two distinct things, two different things. Yeah. So similarly, the self and the aggregates are not of those two different, completely inherent different things, right? Yeah. Then 143. Self cannot be said to own the aggregates, right? So the possessive is also one of the sevenfold reasoning, right? There's the two aspects of one and different, and then the two aspects of dependence, and then one aspect of possession. Yeah, that the inherent self does not possess the aggregates, right? So that's the sevenfold reasoning of Chandrakirti. Yeah. Self cannot be said to own the aggregates, right? Yeah, that's the 1, 2, 3, 4, the fifth one. Yeah. Since self does not exist, such ownership is meaningless, right? So, you cannot have first of all, inherent self does not exist, so you cannot talk about ownership or the I that is in control or possesses the aggregates, right? Yeah. So that's probably why, from this point of view, when we realize selfness for the first time, then most likely it is the self-sufficient, substantial existing self to be empty, right? As we talked about a few times. That's probably in most cases, the first way you realize selflessness. Yeah, the first coarse one, because if you don't understand the coarse one, then to understand the subtle one, as we talked about before, is difficult. Yeah. So if you see there's no self-sufficient substantial existing self, only then you get an idea probably of the more subtler level of grasping at an inherent self, right? So that's probably also one of the reasons why you first, this is not in the scriptures, right? But that's what His Holiness then says from his own experience, why you probably first realize the selfness of a self-sufficient substantial existing self, and then only after that, the first initial realization, think, oh wow, did I get it now or not? And you check, and you see it's still a coarse one, and then you see, okay, there's a subtler one there as well. Like this peeling the onion, right? There's different levels of coarser ones. First you get rid of the sand, if you buy, onions, not in the supermarket, but on the market in India somewhere. And these days also things are much cleaner, but early days, you can just buy. Or you can buy in a farm somewhere and there's still a little bit sand, and then you peel off the skin, the dried skin, and then you peel off more, and then your eyes start to you start to cry. Yeah. So that's kind of different levels, with onions. Yeah, so same thing probably. It's probably similar, right? That in order to really understand the subtle object of refutation, of the Prasangika, is not easy, because we have these coarser levels sitting there, right? It prevents us from seeing the subtler ones, most likely, So there's one in the Perfection of Wisdom Sutras, the commentaries by Jessenju Gyaltsen, there's one aspect to this where it says in the autonomy school, when there's a coarse form of apprehension present, you cannot see the subtle ones. That's there in the scriptures. It's very interesting, and that makes sense, right? In one way, when there's a coarse apprehension of external phenomena, for example, then you cannot see the true existence. Yeah, the subtler aspect of the Kakya, according to the autonomy school, right? So then, similarly, here probably same in the Prasangika. If you have the coarser form of a self being quite manifest, and to see the subtler one is just not easy, right? Yeah. Anyway, that's not very clear in the scriptures, those things. Yeah. But yeah, if you properly train and you go back and forth, then you get an idea, okay, this object of refutation is similar to the self-sufficient substantial existing self. And this one is maybe more from the point of view of an inherent self. Yeah, just from the point, from reasoning and thinking about it. But from the point of view of personal experience, it's a different story. Yeah, then most likely first you get this feeling of no self, of the self-sufficient substantial existing self, and only after that you get the experience of eventual realization of no inherent self, most likely, according to what His Holiness is saying, right? It makes sense, Yeah. So these things are not in scriptures. That's experiential aspects, from what His Holiness talks about. Yeah. So then the next verse, 140. Did we do 3? Yeah. Oh yeah, the ownership is senseless. Yeah. Then there's this one is a quote from the sutras, where it talks about 20 views. Yeah. So you have 5 aggregates. You see my mathematics is gone. You have 5 aggregates and you have 4 views, right? So 4 times 5 is 20. Yeah. So 4 with each of the 5 aggregates, meaning the body is not self. It's 1, nor does the self possess the body. 2, the self does not exist in the body, nor does the body. It's 3, nor does the body exist in the self. Yeah, that's kind of 4. Yeah, you can use various reasons. Yeah, you can use the sevenfold reason of Chandrakirti. You can use these 20, but it also comes up in those who did recently the letter for a friend. Nagarjuna quotes the same sutra, with those 20 views of to contemplate. Yeah, that's also aspects you can. The more angles or reasons you use, the more the understanding dawns of no self, right? Yeah. So we do contemplations on the four close places of mindfulness, for example. Then we do these 20 views, and then we go to the sevenfold reason of Chandakirti, and then we take the 3 levels of dependent origination, and you use various kind of reasons to see or to try to prove there's no inherent self, right? So the more reasons you have, the more angles you can tackle it. Yeah. Yeah, so same with the quotation we started with by Arya Nagarjuna. It says here, in these 4 terms, understand all the remaining aggregates. Yeah, so all the 5 aggregates, you can apply these 4 points to it, right? And there are the 20 views of the self. So same as we started with the quote, that there's an apprehension of the aggregates. It's related with the aggregates. And that's why Nagarjuna said in this precious garland that starting with the aggregates and then apprehending inherent I on top of that, right? As we just started. So it's similar to this verse, right, of the sutras, where we had the basis is this, are these aggregates, the 5 aggregates based upon which you see itself, right? So in one way it starts with the aggregates, as we just talked about in the beginning. Yeah, with that quote of Nagarjuna. Yeah. So yeah, here is very similar with those 20 views. So that's kind of, you meditate, you just 1 minute you do the body is not self, and the self does not possess the body, and you do 1 minute, and so you can go, yeah, so you can keep yourself busy for 20 minutes easily. Yeah, so to analyze. Yeah, and then you do the sevenfold reason of Chandakirti, it's 27 minutes. And then you have a break, and it's kind of, in the summer break, because this lasts, you can easily fill your summer break with sessions on these points, right? Yeah, if you really want to, to contemplate these things, very important, because we often just talk about it and analyze it and see, oh yeah, makes sense, okay, it says in this book and that book, but you have to sit down and contemplate, right? And then the real meaning comes, then it helps to get a little bit of idea of what we're talking about, of no self, Yeah. Then next verse where it says, when the scepter of wisdom realizes no selves, crushes the mountains of self-view. Yeah, so these 20 high peaks, belong to the mighty race of the identity view. That means they're all related to the view of transitory collection, right? Because the view of transitory collection looks at a particular aspect that exists and then apprehend an inherent aspect. Yeah? So here, same thing. The body exists, and then you think there's an inherent I on top of that, right? Yeah, the mere body exists. That's as the object of observation, and you think there's an inherent I on top of that. Yeah, so here those 20 views are like peaks of this mountain range of the view of the transitory collection, right? So it's all rooted in the view of transitory collection, right? That's kind of what it is. So yeah, and mountains are not easy to be crushed. Yeah, so it's kind of very strong view since beginner's lifetime. Yeah, but we know that in certain periods of time when there's whole planets, they collapse, right? So including those big mountains, right? That's we know in time of disintegration of aspects that you just need a comet the size of a football field or something bumping into the Himalayas, and things will change there. Right? It's pretty obvious. Yeah, so that means nothing is that solid and permanent. Yeah. But yeah, there's an analogy that they're stable because they're since beginner's lifetime, right? Yeah. But if you eliminate the identity view, if you eliminate the kasa, the view of transitory collection, you can eliminate others. All the things like this big comet coming into the earth, and just all the mountains just completely get destroyed. Yeah, if you have a big one, yeah, creates a creator even. Yeah. Anyway. So that's, if you eliminate the view of transcendental collection, then all those other views also are being taken care of, right? Yeah. So then there's verse 146, talks about one sub-school in the Vaibhasika, Jedama Nelmabu. Yeah, so that's kind of the Samatya Vaibhasika school. They say something very interesting. They say there is no permanent Takchik, unitary, independent self. They say that. Yeah? But when you ask them, what about the self-sufficient, substantial existing self? They don't answer. They say the self is inexpressible in the form of being permanent or being impermanent. So in one way, what is the self is not easy to understand. That's what they say. Yeah? So they don't really, there's a big debate. They don't really put forward the self-sufficient, substantial existing self, neither do they refute it. Yeah, because they only refute a permanent, unitary, independent self, of course, one. Yeah, but this self-sufficient, substantial existing self, they not refute it, neither do they accept it. Yeah, this quote that you debate over and over and over again. All the exams, they have that question. All the big debates in the big gatherings have that question. The people debate that, this Vaibhasika school, it is a Buddhist. Why is it a Buddhist school? Because it accepts the treatise of refuge. Okay. But does it uphold the Buddhist tenets or not? That's the view. Yeah. So if a school needs to uphold the Buddhist tenets in order to be a Buddhist school, right? Yeah, so then this Vaibhasika school is being considered as a Buddhist school, but then you say they are not a Buddhist school because they don't uphold the Buddhist tenets. And they say, why? Because they don't uphold the Buddhist tenets of no self, of selflessness. Yeah, we know the four seals of Buddhist philosophy that indicates if when a person is an upholder of the Buddhist tenets, it needs to accept the four seals of Buddhist philosophy, right? Yeah. Tujitamji mi takpa, mean compounded phenomena are impermanent. Sakjitamji dugnyawa, all contaminated aspects are in nature of suffering. Yeah. And Chitamji tongshin dagmebas, all phenomena are empty and selfless. Yeah. And then the fourth one, nangle dewa shivas, nirvana is peace. Yeah. So there are the four seals of Buddhist philosophy. So the third one, all phenomena are empty and selfless, according to the majority of the interpretations of Buddhist philosophers. Yeah, as we talked about many times before, the empty aspect is the permanent, unitary, independent self, and the no self, or the selflessness, is the self-sufficient, substantial existing self. Yeah, so that's how most Buddhist philosophies give the interpretation of those two selves. Yeah, we went over that a few times before. Yeah, and there's also other interpretations we also went over. The empty and no self, what we just talked about, permanent, unitary, independent for empty, and self-sufficient, substantial existing self for selfless. Yeah, that's according to the Abhishamalankara. Yeah, that's one interpretation. Then the Pramana Vartika has a different interpretation. Yeah, that the no self, the empty aspect is a self-sufficient, substantial existing self as being different from the aggregates, and the no self, or the selflessness, is a self-sufficient, substantial existing self being one with the aggregates. Yeah, so this came up in one of the last BP weekends also. Yeah, and then according to the Prasangika, there are scripture references to join the view of the transcendental collection with I and mine, with empty and no self. But there's no core subtle difference, because it's just a distinction between the way an I is being seen or self, the mine is being seen as a distinction between self of a person and self of a phenomena, rather than coarse and subtle differences. Because there's no coarse and subtle difference between an inherent I and an inherent mine, right? Yeah, they're not, one is not coarser and the other one is subtler, because the object of apprehension is exactly the same. Yeah, inherent existence. Yeah, the way of apprehension, I should say. Yeah. So Yeah, so then this debate is okay, then this Vaibhasika sub-school is not the upholder of the Buddhist tenets because it doesn't accept the four seals of Buddhist philosophy. And they say because it doesn't accept the selfless aspect. Yeah. Anyway, there's a debate back and forth, but then you can debate, yeah, but they don't really accept it, and neither do they refute it. So it's a very interesting debate. Anyway, that's kind of the fun. I spare you all the fun, but that's this verse is related to that because it says, yeah. So there's a Buddhist view, yeah, that say, okay, there's no permanent, unitary, independent self, but when you ask the question about a subtler self, then they don't really answer that, yeah, because the self in one way is kind of inexpressible in the sense what actually does exist then, yeah. For a school like that is not an easy answer. That's why they say it's difficult to express as being permanent or impermanent, yeah. So they don't really express it. That's yeah. Anyway, that's maybe all a bit too much. I'm not sure, but that's just a very interesting debate in the Buddhist philosophy. Anyway. So some assert a substantial real person as that is inexpressible. Yeah, so that's kind of what they're talking about, this sub-school or the Vaibhasika school. Yeah, or that as one or different from the aggregates, permanent or impermanent, and so on. So it's Kanyan Zödemebas, they say, either of those things, they don't express it because it's just very difficult to express what it is. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's just a course of view, right? Yeah, although they refute a permanent, unitary, independent self, but when you go subtler, then they say, yeah, it's very complex. What is the self? It is claimed to be knowledgeable by 6 classes of consciousness, right? And this is held to be the basis of eye-grasping as well. Yeah, so that, yeah, okay. Then it continues on that in next verse, 147. Just as you do not take mind's distinctness from body to be inexpressible, yeah, so same thing. If you talk about it's inexpressible, then if the self is inexpressible, then you should say the mind is also inexpressible, because you say the mental consciousness, that's the illustration of the person, is the self. So you should say that it's inexpressible as well. If you follow that reasoning, you know, if you say that self-sufficient, substantial existing self is inexpressible, then the Prasangika fires back and said, okay, but then what you put forward as the person, this mental consciousness, yeah, then also that should be inexpressible. But you don't say that's inexpressible. But on the other hand, you say that's the self, you know. So yeah, anyway, that's kind of contradiction, right? Yeah. So you cannot conceive substantial realities to be inexpressible for itself, if self exists in some manner as a real entity, then like the mind too, yeah, same thing will be not inexpressible. Yeah, you should also put it forward as inexpressible, but it's not inexpressible. You know, you say it's real, it exists, inherent. So it doesn't make any sense what you're saying. It's just let the opponent contradict, themselves, right? Then the next reason, next verse 148. For you, given that a vase is not a substantial entity or a self-sufficient substantial entity, right? It thus remains invariable apart from its form and other features. Same thing, right? Every object you can also see as a self-sufficient entity. Yeah, we often talk self-sufficient entity with regards to the self of a person, but you can also apply it to objects, right? Yeah, so something, yeah, that is existing by itself, right, in a self-sufficient way, yeah. So similarly, then you cannot find it either. Yeah, this self-sufficient vase you cannot find because the vase is in nature of dependence. Yeah, in the function of holding something or standing on something, right? Yeah, so and then you can also this self-sufficient substantial existing vase. You cannot find it one with vase, neither different from vase. Yeah, the same logic applies. Yeah, the one and different reasoning, or identical with and different from reasoning is being used by all schools of Buddhist philosophy, right? Not only Prasangika, it's being used by autonomous schools, it's being used by Sautrantika, Vibhasika, and mind only, right? They all use the same logic or reasoning of either being identical with or different from, because there's no third possibility. Yeah, so everything that exists is either one with A or different from A. Only A itself is one with A, and everything else is different from A, right? Yeah. So whatever exists is one with your body or one with your mind. Your mind is one with your mind, your body is one with your mind, but your mind is different from your body, and your body is different from your mind. Yeah. So that's kind of the logic that's been forward. So first you recognize object gravitation, and then you have to realize that it's either one or different. First you have to realize that. Then you go to the next level. You say, okay, it's one, and then you analyze. Okay, it's not one. Okay, then it implies to be different. Okay, it's not different. And then the clear cut comes. If you don't have realized those two are the only possibilities, then you never come to this clear cut. You know, so you don't realize emptiness. So that's why Lama Tsongkhapa said, first object refutation, then realize the pervasion, yeah, of either one or different. Then check. It's one with the body, one with the mind. No, different from the body, different from the mind. No, not there. Yeah, so then you have this clear cut that produces the realization of emptiness, right? Yeah, so that's why this pervasion also has to be realized. Otherwise, you in the back of your mind say, yeah, maybe there's another possibility. Yeah, not one with, not different from, but maybe there's something else. Yeah, so then you can never get this sharp kind of, no, it's not one, no, it's not different, it's not there aspect, you know. So you have to realize this pervasion of being either one with or different from. That there's no third possibility, right? So same with vases, with all objects, same thing. Yeah, the inherent vase or the self-sufficient vase is not one, neither different. Yeah, you cannot find it one with and not different from. Yeah, so self too is not different from the aggregates and not one with aggregates, right? There's the various reasons that the self. It's very true, because the self appears, it's so sneaky. It appears to be mixed with your body and the mind, right? The innate aspect. But then it is kind of, it doesn't have all the characteristics of your body. It doesn't have all the characteristics of your mind, so it cannot be one, or, you know, or similar to, or exactly the same, or identical with, there's a better term. It cannot be identical with your body. It cannot be identical with your mind, because it doesn't have those aspects of your body and your mind, right? Yeah, so then that's yeah. And then, yeah, inherent different is a bit more easy to realize, because you take away your body, you take parts of your arms and legs, and you put it all aside. And then there's, if the I was inherently different, the I will become clearer and clearer and clearer and clearer, the more parts of your body you put aside, right? Same with a car. If you say, oh, the inherent car is different from the car, then the more, you know, you take away the wheels, and you take away the steering wheel, you take away the seats, and throw here, throw there. So the more you throw away, the inherent car should become clearer and clearer and clearer when it's inherently different, right? But it doesn't, you see? So the inherent I is not different from the body and the mind, because the more of the body and the mind you take away, it doesn't become clearer. It starts to disappear as well. So it seems to be related and not inherently different, right? Yeah, so that same, yeah, you can do meditation, just cut off your left arm and right arm and visualize, and then your legs, and then your head, you have to wait a bit, and then just the more parts you take aside, you know, and then where is this I? Or look inside, put your organs here and there, and then, you know, like the car, you put it in different places, and then you cannot find as completely different, right? See? Yeah, or you put your body somewhere in a what is it? In a room separate from the I. It's not possible, right? So it's not inherently different, you know. Yeah. 49. Yeah, 249. So then you do not take a consciousness to be different from itself, right? The person is not different from itself, but only one with itself. The person is one with itself, right? Consciousness is one with itself. Yeah, but yes, but anything else than consciousness is different. Yeah, so that logic is very important to get clear in the mind. Yeah? You do not take consciousness to be different from itself, but think it's to be different from form and other aggregates, right? In all things, these two aspects of different, identical with and different from, can be seen because the self lacks these reality attributes, right? So it doesn't. You cannot find it as being identical with nor different from the body and the mind, right? So then you see the self does not exist. Then verse 150 talks about the first 5 reasons of the sevenfold reasoning of Chandrakirti, right? It's not really Chandrakirti, it comes out from the sutras, right? The chariot example. Chandrakirti just takes it out from the Perfection of Wisdom sutras and presents it, right? Yeah. Therefore, the basis of I grasping is not a real entity. Self is not something different from the aggregates, nor is it the aggregates themselves. Yeah, so there's the first 2 reasons, right? Different from and identical with. Yeah. Then the aggregates are not its support, nor does the self possess them. Yeah. So support meaning there's 2 ways of dependence. Yeah, the aggregates do not inherently depend on the inherent self, neither does the inherent self depends on the aggregates, because dependence is only possible when there's no inherent aspects, Yeah. And then not possess them. This proves that the self exists in dependence on the aggregates, merely designated in dependence on the aggregates. Yeah, so that's, and if you talk about the mere designation or the mere imputation on top of the aggregates, that actually proves conventional reality, because the aggregates exist. There's a body and there's a mind, and then you impute on top of that, you impute a self that exists. So this mere designation, which many people think is a nihilistic view, actually it's proving an aspect of conventional reality, right? If there's no basis, then you cannot designate. Yeah, so that the mere collection of the aggregates, is be considered as the basis upon which you impute the person. So that the imputation or designation itself proves that things conventionally exist, right? Yeah, so you don't fall into the extreme of a nihilistic view, Yeah. Because the dependence in the Prasangika is very interesting, because most schools, they say the result depends on the cause, because the result is produced by the cause. But in Prasangika, they say the cause depends on the result, because there's only a cause when you know what a result is. It's just merely imputed on how you define a result that you impute a cause. So that's a very unique aspect of Prasangika, that they say it's not just that a result depends on the cause, but the cause depends on the result. It's no retroproduction or something like that. It's just a label, a kind of aspect of designation. So that proves the mere process of designation proves the conventional reality, right? Then in 51 it says a chariot cannot be said to be different from its part, nor it's not identical to its part, nor it possesses the parts, nor the parts are not. Do the parts exist in it? So it's not the mere collection or the shape. So the mere collection and not the shape are the last 2 aspects of the sevenfold reasoning, right? So that's here all summarized in 1 verse. And then the last 2 reasons of mere collection and shape is being refuted, right? As we did already before. For if the mere collection constitutes a chariot, then the chariot would exist even if the parts are not assembled, as we talked about before, in a particular way. Your car, you take all the parts aside and you spread them around in the room. It's not to be considered as a car, right? The parts have to be assembled in a particular way that is the car. And then we went to the debate, and then the person said, "Oops, sorry, okay." The kaza. The individual parts The collection is not the car, but the shape is the car. Remember? We went to that debate, yeah? And then you say also the shape is not a car, right? Because the shape is different over time, and you cannot find the shape first of all, yeah, because it's also based on the mere collection of all the other parts. So also the shape you cannot find, so you cannot really say or state that the shape is the car, right? Because what is the car is just, if you look, you cannot find the car. The only thing that you can find is that the car is imputed based upon the mere collections being assembled in a particular way. Yeah, so there's many things involved in the designation of car, right? Yeah, or body, or any phenomena in that regard, right? Yeah, so that's very important to understand when you contemplate these things and you want to see what does it mean, merely imputed by the mind. It's not that there's a person on the side and comes and say, okay, this is this, this is that, this is that. That's not the meaning, right? You analyze, and you cannot find an inherent person in the body, in the mind, neither different from the body, neither different from the mind. So you come to the conclusion, this person is just a name, a label based on these aggregates. There's nothing more than that. Yeah, so that's kind of what the conclusion should be reached after having understood emptiness, right? That you see the only way to say what is the person then is to have a designation based on the mere collection. Yeah, so you meditate, you cannot find the inherent I in your body, inherent I in mind, but you know your body exists, your mind exists, you know there's a base of imputation that exists, and there's an imputed that exists. So then the I is just imputed based upon this collection of things. Yeah, so that should be the approach, right? Not that there's a person and says and labels this, that, and that, and that. That's a very coarse form of nominal existence or imputed existence, right? What we talk about here is you cannot find it inherent I in any ways. The only way that it exists on a conventional level is that it's imputed, right? So that's kind of the conclusion that should be reached. Yeah. Yeah, so that's a little bit at the shape. It's not a chariot, yeah. Then, what does it say? 153, for you, just the shapes exist previously in each of the parts, yeah, so there's various shapes. So what actually is, you cannot find the shape itself. You know, the shape of a car depends on so many aspects of very individual shapes of individual parts. Yeah, so you cannot find a kind of inherent shape either, right? Yeah. Yeah, so that's a little bit about that. And then the last two verses I was planning to do, verse 54, 154, I think that's what I was planning to do. Yeah, that's okay. 51, yeah. 54. Then, if within the chariot that is right here and now, yeah, the wheels and so on have acquired different shapes. Yeah, so yeah, you cannot really find the shape at all. You know. So you cannot find a substantial reality in the parts, nor can you find a substantial reality in the shape or an inherent aspect anywhere. It's all merely designated. What you call a shape is also designated on the individual shapes of the individual parts, right? Yeah. Given that collection has no reality for you, 155, yeah, the shape you meant cannot be that of the collection. Yeah. For how can be the shape defined? Yeah, as the base of something utterly unreal, yeah, inherent kind of aspects of shape. Yeah, so that's maybe where we stop for the summer break. So I think you have to be correct. You have 155 verses to contemplate in the summer. That's quite something. So yeah, if you have 1 month, then you divide 155 into 1 month, and then you know how many you can do a day. Or you just do a few. Yeah, so it's enough for homework, no? That was the day today. 23. Yeah, so if there's any questions, then we can do a few.
Okay, maybe we can start in the Gompa first, if anyone here has a question.
Thank you. Thank you, Geshe-la.
Yeah, just make a note. Yeah.
Yeah. My question is about the reasoning explained in verse 144. So it says, is there sort of 5 times 4?
Yeah.
So we say the body is not the self doesn't possess the body, the self doesn't exist in the body, and the body doesn't exist in the self. And then you apply that to feeling, discrimination, composition of factors, and consciousness.
Yeah.
So how do I apply it to discrimination and compositional factors? Because they don't seem very concrete enough. Discrimination is this, not that.
Yeah.
I, not you.
Yeah, I mean, in one way, you think it's like this and not otherwise, or it's like this. And so there's a relationship between the mental factor discrimination and the self, right? Yeah.
Okay.
And then I discriminate, or I know, or I think it's like this and not like that.
Okay.
Right? So there's an aspect to the mental factor discrimination, right?
Okay.
Saying with my feeling, I feel like that, or I don't want to feel like this, So you can have the self-related, or the experiencer, or the discriminator, so to say, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
And when it comes to compositional factors?
Yeah, so that's all the other mental factors, right?
So what could I think of? Because for me...
Then you just take one particular mental factor as an example, right? Other than feeling and discrimination, because you already dealt with that. You think about the mental factor analysis, or wisdom, or concentration, or an affliction, or a virtuous state of mind, and that's also related with I need this, I need that, or that's also related with itself. Just take 1 or 2 mental factors that's clear to you, and then see how does that relate with I know this or I know that, with the mental factor wisdom, for example, right?
Okay, yeah. Thank you.
Or with attachment and anger is quite clear, no? Yeah.
Okay, we can move to the people online. Adriana, you have a question?
Yeah.
Thank you, Sheila.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Thank you. According to the part, I don't know if this reasoning of my mind is correct. So this is the question. First, that thing that we call car is formed for some functionality, and that way. And comes from the causes and conditions, and the origination is in there. Sorry.
Dependent origination is
in there in the car.
Oh, in the car, yeah.
Yes.
The car
okay,
is...
I understand. Yes. Okay. I try to explain the best way. Sorry. Okay, I understand.
Yeah.
So the base of the car. Okay. But the question is that base depends the causes and conditions.
Yeah, that base is also. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. And this cause and conditions are part of the pen origination. I don't know how to pronounce it. Yes.
Because the basis of imputation itself is also in the nature of dependence, right? And depends on causes and conditions in this case, right? So that's also true. Yeah. So that's why the Prasangika is saying the basis of imputation you cannot find either, because the base of imputation is also imputed. Yeah, that's why we say in general, the base for imputation and the imputed are not mutually exclusive, but with regards to one object, they are. Yeah, so that means that what is your basis to impute a body upon, that basis also depends on causes and conditions of the various aggregates, or with a car, the various parts, right? Yeah.
Thank you. And beside that is the karma. Okay. Yes. Whole package. Okay. Sorry.
The karma is there, right?
Okay. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Because the karma is gives us a particular way to look at things, right? And our habituation patterns of the past influence future perception, right? So that's also playing a role. And then in particular, the grasping at inherent existence from previous lifetimes influences us in the future to again have that same habituation pattern to grasp at inherent existence, right?
Thank you.
Okay, yeah, thank you. Yeah.
Okay, Neil. Let me just take it.
Yeah.
Geshe-la, thank you.
Yeah.
I had a question with regard to the commentary, actually, around verse 145.
Can you say the page number?
Page 452.
So again?
452.
452. That sounds very far in the book.
Sorry, which are you talking about, the page number or the verse number?
Yeah, no, 452. Yeah, I'm there. Yeah. Yeah? Tell me.
In the commentary, it starts referring to a stream enterer.
Oh, the stream enterer, yeah?
And I think I know what stream enterer is, but I'm not clear why. I mean, it's a Hinayana term, isn't it?
Yeah.
Why is it referencing stream enterer, not the Bodhisattva ground?
Yeah, because here you have to understand that the opponent, right? The opponent is here an opponent from a coarse form of a self, yeah, which accepts a coarse form of a self, yeah, and that opponent belongs to the category of those who mainly indicated as the Pratimoksha Yana vehicles, yeah, and then the stream enterer and the hearers in general, they belong to the Pratimoksha Yana vehicles, right? The individual liberation vehicles. Yeah, so certain tenet systems, they are related with those kind of motivations of the pratimoksha, yeah, the individual liberation. Yeah, so that's why they use an object they're familiar with, such as a stream enterer. Yeah, a stream enterer has a direct perception of emptiness, right? But if you don't have the correct understanding of reality, if you only have a coarse understanding of selflessness, you don't even become a stream enterer according to the Prasangika school, right? So they use that kind of analogy of that particular school of tenets who is familiar with these kind of, aspects of the stream enterer and once returner and no returner and the arat, right?
So is the stream enterer equivalent to the first ground there?
Sorry? Is a stream enterer?
Is somebody who's entered a stream equivalent to the first ground, the first ground?
Similar. It's also related with direct perception of emptiness, right? Yeah, but the motivation is for self-liberation, and then after the stream enter, then you become a once returner, right? So you enter the stream, meaning you go towards liberation, right? With a direct perception of emptiness, you in the process of abandoning samsara, right? And then you become a once returner, meaning you only have to come back once, one lifetime. And then in that next lifetime, you become a no returner. You don't have to come again. In that lifetime, you become an arat. And then you have the arat. Yeah? So you have those four aspects: stream enter, once returner, no returner, and arat. And then each of those four has two aspects of the cause and abiding in the result. Yeah, so we have kind of 8 aspects normally as we talk about. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Peter, snuck in.
Yes, thank you very much.
You don't have lights today.
Sorry?
Oh yeah, now you have light. Yeah, I thought you were sitting in the dark or something.
Yeah. So please, in what respect is the path of no more learning a path?
Ale.
I mean, aren't we a Buddha at that point?
In the Buddha,
we have nothing left to attain.
Yeah, it's not a part that is the basis. Normally we define a part as the basis upon which good qualities arise, right? That's one of the definitions of a part. So a Buddha has already accomplished all qualities, so it's not really a part as such. Yeah?
No.
Yeah.
I think that was my question. I just wondered why we
So
call it
you
a
could
path.
say the part of no more learning is not a part.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
You could say
Okay, that's it.
Yeah, that's just
Very good.
That's just you name it like that, but it doesn't mean it's a part, right? You can name different things. It has a similarity to it, but it doesn't mean it's that part. It's just a similarity to the part. Yeah, because we say former parts. Yeah, because it's a result.
Very good.
You can say it's a result of the last moment of the part of meditation, right? So because that you call it the part, but it's not really a part of training, no? Yeah.
No. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Summer well, and we look forward to September. Thanks.
See you. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna hibernate for a month. Hibernate for whatever weather it is. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
We got another question from Julie.
Julie. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for the teaching, Sheila.
Thank you.
I wondered, this is going off on a tangent, but I wondered if there's specific wording that we should be using as the prayer to remove the obstacles for Yang Rinpoche to travel to Britain.
Ale. Yeah, that's always good to do, right? Yeah. So
Yes.
I mean, Tara is most likely a good practice, right? To remove obstacles. Yeah. And have strong wish to, the need to enter the Vajrayana, the need to receive initiation like that for a particular purpose, right? And that is depending on strong, great compassion, right? Yeah. So that's also very important to have that very clear motivation. Yeah. Not just wanted to study the tantras, but to develop yourself quick, because you cannot wait. You cannot let sentient beings wait too long, So that kind of strong compassion, you contemplate on the various aspects of, as we know, of generating bodhicitta, and in particular the compassion of what we call the special intention, right? So you contemplate that well, and then you pray to Tara, and you say, okay, this is needed, right? And then those prayers the motivation is good, and then the result of those prayers will be much more profound, right? Yeah.
Thank you, Krishna. Thank you.
Okay, I think that's it.
Yeah, that's it. Okay, that's it, I'm being told. So let's call it, that's it, yeah. Okay, so enjoy your break, whatever you do, yeah. Don't forget the Dharma, I hope. Yeah, wherever you go, whatever you do. So try to think about Dharma a little bit, and if you have time to contemplate these things and read and think about, you can just sit, you don't have to sit formally, but you can just read a few verses and then just lay back in your chair and just think about it, right? That's very profound, can be very profound, yeah. If just sitting formally, then it's
Would you share about the class that's in September?
in September. What's starting?
In praise of compassion.
Oh yeah, in praise of bodhicitta. We do another course, that one, no? Yeah, we do another course on Tuesdays, I believe. Tuesdays, yeah. There's another course of in praise of bodhicitta by Arjuna, and there is basically Lamrim style text, as maybe most of you know, with some philosophy in there as well, right? So, and then the main audience will be the current Exploring Buddhism students who are finishing in July, so they have already done some kind of philosophy, right? So then we can use a little bit more philosophy in that text as well. That was the idea. But anyway, that's just information I've been told. Yeah, to share with you. Yeah, so I did that. Yeah, take it off my job description for today. All right, so then enjoy your break, and then see you soon in somewhere in September. Yeah, I think first week or maybe second week, something like that. And then be well, and then do your best. Okay. Yeah. So let's dedicate all these incredible evenings of contemplating emptiness again and again is very fortunate and very meritorious. Yeah, so also make a strong dedication for the benefit of all sentient beings, of course, and to progress on the spiritual paths for those beings, to generate bodhicitta and realize emptiness, and that only happens by depending on the gurus. So pray for the long and healthy life of His Holiness Dalai Lama, and all His Holiness wish spontaneously fulfilled, and also Kyabche Lama Zopa Rinpoche's swift return, and be of the greatest benefit for the Buddha, Dharma, and sentient beings, right? And then for all obstacles, for all sentient beings to be removed from the state of path to enlightenment. And quickly, by depending on the virtuous friend, achieve the state of Vajradhara. So take that into account and recite the dedication.
O Sajipuki Josimeto Ralinji Nindegempati Sangejindu Miteruwai Drokunandajinla Jesun Lama Kuserapten Chinam Katrine Chuchuge Padan Losantempe Sasungi Losantempe Drume Sasungi Dam Guru Rana Mandala Kam Niratayami Dagi Jine Sabe Gewadi Tendan Drowa Kuna Kampenda Gepa Jesun no Sandra Pai Tempe Nimporindu Sajesh Gare Rawe Korwe Jinkamso Pendan Dewa Malu Jumwene Chere Zingwan Tenzing Yasoi Jabe Site Badu Tengyuchi. Homage to Manjushri, the youthful, in this way to the awakened one, the transcendent Lord, the wisdom Kaya, spontaneously arisen, the single eye of wisdom entirely unobscured, the light of wisdom forever shining bright. To you, Arapasana, I pay homage. To you, the very embodiment of wisdom, I bow. Thus it is explained by all the perfect Buddhas. This concludes this teaching spoken by the transcendent Lord Shakyamuni, the essence of the perfect recitation of the names of the wisdom being, the transcendent Lord Manjushri. Tu tenji dan jam gyung gyewe ten shu gyo bella ka che rab su pa sum den yu mi sin pa chu ki je da dra ten pe pel du nyu chun shu Janchu Senchu Rinpoche Magye Panange Gyuchi Geba Nyamba Mepaya Gone Konde Pewa Sho Toni Tawa Rinpoche Magye Panange Gyuchi Geba Nyamba Mepaya Gone Konde Pewa Sho. And as long as space remains, as long as my greatest remain, until then may I too remain to dispel the suffering of my greatest. May the King of Dharma, Tsongkhapa's way of a Dharma practice flourish, and may the omens of obstacles be pacified, and all conducive circumstances be complete. Through the power of having made single pointed requests to you, Losendropa, may all unfortunate manifestations of a degenerate age, illness, famine, quarrelling, epidemic disease, Gara spirits, interferers, and so forth be pacified, and may excellent collections of conducive conditions increase. Please bless me that my wishes be swiftly fulfilled. by invoking the power of loving kindness and compassion of Chenrezig, and through the force of making extensive prayers, may all sickness, war, fighting, famine be completely pacified, so that beings have long, healthy, and happy lives. May the glorious Guru's lives be long and stable, and may all beings equal in the extent of space have happiness. May I and others, without exception, accumulate merit and purify negativities, and may we be blessed to quickly attain Buddhahood. Kyawa kunde yada lama dan drame chiki pala lo chuchi sadan langi yunten razune doje changi gupanyu tu sho.
Okay, thank you so much. Yeah, see you soon.